Hello, and guess where I am? I'm in New York! Is that how the song goes? I feel like I butchered that. I actually saw a couple in a horse-drawn carriage riding around Manhattan with that song playing, and I was like, wow. That is iconic. I want to be them. Also, this video is brought to you by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your online business. I will talk more about them later. I actually already went book shopping, so it's me from the future, or me from the present, and you're about to see me from the past, just depending how you want to look at it. But yeah, I already went book shopping, so I'm gonna roll that vlog footage soon, and I'm gonna like pop in throughout to tell you guys my thoughts as I was book shopping. But the first place that I went to is Barnes & Noble's, and this is not just any Barnes & Noble's. This is the biggest Barnes & Noble ever. Like ever. It was 4 stories and 62,000 square feet. And just for reference, the average Barnes & Noble's is about 26,000 square feet. I did Google this. So it's like twice the size of probably any Barnes & Noble that any of you guys have been in. And I wasn't really looking for anything specific. I honestly was just walking around looking to spontaneously purchase some books, which is kind of my favorite way to go about book shopping, where I have nothing in mind and I just see what I find. But yeah, let's go to Barnes & Noble. Right in front of the Barnes, they had this huge plant stand, and I just love in New York City, you never know what you're gonna find on the streets. Then when you walk in, they have a table of trending books, a giant fiction wall, a mystery wall. I really wanna read a Riley Sager book because I feel like I've been hearing so many people talk about her. The rom-com table was huge. I repeat, huge, and I love it. From this table, I really wanna read You Deserve Each Other, which is a book about a married couple and the roommate. They also had an entire Sally Rooney table. Next on my Sally Rooney TBR is Conversations with Friends. And I love that they're able to have entire tables for authors. They also had a Colleen Hoover table. Next on my Colleen Hoover TBR is Maybe Not, the sequel to Maybe Someday. I also am intrigued by Slammed. I feel like I haven't heard that many people talk about this book. I'm especially intrigued because it's one of Colleen Hoover's very few YA books. I also really want to read the Cruel Prince series. I'm just in the middle of so many series right now, so it might be a minute before I get to this one. They also had blind dates with books, which you guys know that I love, and so many of them sounded good, like YA dystopian thriller. And they had such niche themes for tables, like Cabin Fever. What a cool theme to categorize books by. And they had a Greek mythology table, which I read the Song of Achilles, and I definitely want to read more Greek mythology. They also had a pride table of LGBTQ plus books. My number one on this table is boyfriend material, which a bunch of you guys have recommended me. One of the main characters is famous for being the son of rock stars. Then we headed to the second floor. Look how big it is. This is only looking one direction. There's like this equal size behind me as well. It's absolutely crazy. This was the children's section, and then look how long the YA section is. It goes all the way down, and I love these giant wooden bookcases. They also had such cool categories, and the Inheritance Games. You guys know that I love this series. Please read it. It is dark academia, and Book Talk definitely made me read it. Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, it says, is a banned book, which I did not know. I've seen the movie but never read the book, and I would love to read the book one day. It's cool that they had little plaques describing each book, and just for emphasis, look how big this YA section is. This entire shelf along the whole wall. It's so cool. I was in heaven. The Shatter Me series, I need to read it one day, but again, I'm in the middle of so many series. Then we went up to the third floor. They had a little cafe, and the third floor was all of their fiction books, and then the fourth floor was kind of random categories like nonfiction, politics, things like that. And I ended up heading back down to the blind date with a book section to get a blind date with a book. I was torn between so many, like Anxious Bachelor, which is an LGBTQ story, YA dystopian thriller, which it described as being similar to Hunger Games, and a feminist story. Celestial Fairy Tale sounded so cool. It had witches, ghosts, and pirates. Wasn't that Barnes huge? Like, I don't know if you could tell from just my footage, but if you are in New York, you have to go. It was so cool. They literally just had everything your typical Barnes had, but mega, like a billion books for every section. And I don't know, I was in love. And I thought it was so funny. Danny, my boyfriend, has, I don't think, ever been book shopping with me. So this is his first time coming book shopping with me. And as soon as we stepped in, there was like the book talk table. And he said, I feel like I'm back in our apartment, because I just have all the same books that were on the book talk table. Anyway, he said it way funnier in the moment, but I thought that was cute that he said that. And I ended up getting 2 books in Barnes & Noble, a blind date with a book, which you guys know I love, and The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Oh wow, I'm just realizing I actually don't know anything about this book. I purely bought it because it's by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, who wrote The Inheritance Games, which is one of my favorite series ever. I still need to read the 3rd book in the series because it just came out. Okay, let me read the summary really fast so I can give you guys a summary of the summary.
How terrible. very clever.
Ooh, okay, this book sounds so good. It is about a classified program started by the FBI that uses exceptional teenagers to close infamous cold cases. So there's a mix of teenagers, like Cassie is the main character, and she's a natural at reading people. One of the other people, Sloan, is really good with statistics. Someone else is a human lie detector. And yeah, it's like a whole program of like really gifted teens who are gonna help out the FBI. And then suddenly a new killer strikes, so the naturals are going to have to use all of their gifts just to survive. It really sounds like None Shall Sleep, which if you watch my channel, I feel like you've heard me talk about this book because I also love it so much. It sounds like kind of a very gifted version of None Shall Sleep, and I'm really excited to read it. It's also YA. I just love YA mysteries. I don't know why. There's something about it that's so great. Then the blind date with the book. I'm so excited to open this. I feel like I went a little bit out of my comfort zone with this one. Let me read it to you. It says, a fairy tale reimagined, bonds forged in friendship, unexpected love and acceptance, enemies to lovers, Russian and Jewish roots. So obviously I love enemies to lovers. It's my absolute favorite trope, which is what really drew me to this book. Bonds forged in friendship. I love books with really strong friendships. I don't know what it is about great friendships, but I love that more than romance sometimes. The only reason I say it's maybe a little bit out of my comfort zone is because it's a fairy tale reimagined. And I don't know if that just means like classic romance or if it's like fairy tale, like a little bit magical. I'm gonna open it. Whoa, this is not what I was expecting. Okay, wow, okay, this really looks like a fantasy. So I think I'm right about the fairy tale part, meaning fantasy. It's called Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Miriam is the daughter and granddaughter of moneylenderers, but her father's inability to collect his debts has left his family on the edge of poverty, until Miriam takes matters into her own hands. Hardening her heart, the young woman sets out to claim what is owed, and soon gains a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold. Whoa, okay, so definitely fantastical if she is performing magic to turn silver into gold. That also sounds really profitable. When an ill-advised boast draws the attention of the king, Miriam's fate and that of two kingdoms will be forever altered. She will face an impossible challenge and, along with two unlikely allies, which I'm guessing is our friendships, uncover a secret that threatens to consume the lands of humans and Staryk alike. Staryk is like the name of the kingdom. A new, beautifully woven fairy tale in which the boundary between wonder and terror is thinner than a breath. Whoa. Okay, I'm a little surprised by that last sentence of wonder and terror. I was picking up on the wonder, not the terror. Let's see, I'm gonna look it up on Goodreads. Oh my gosh, okay, it has 4.21 stars, which is so high. That's so good. Okay, that's making me really excited to read this book. Okay, before we go on to our next bookshop, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. I think the coolest feature that Squarespace offers is that you can really create a community space with comments, likes, and replies. If you're somebody looking to start a book blog, this would be absolutely perfect for you. And Squarespace also allows you the ability to sell your products online. And another really cool feature is that you can monetize content like videos, a course, or a newsletter by creating a membership area. This would allow you to have a completely new stream of income for your business. And I created my own website. It features my different social media channels and books that I love. So you can head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to my link to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And next up, we're going to the Strand, which is also obviously a bookstore in New York. I posted on my Instagram story before I went to New York asking you guys for bookstore recs, and so many of you guys said to go to the Strand. I also have a few friends in New York and they also all told me to go to the Strand. So it sounds like that is maybe the most popular bookstore in New York. And this one, not as big as Barnes & Noble's, but still pretty big and very cool. So yeah, let's go to the Strand. Right when you get to the Strand, they had $2 to $7 books outside, which is so cool. I didn't see any that I was interested in, but I just think it's cool that they have inexpensive books. And then when you go inside the store, they have a color organized book wall, my literal dream book wall. And they had blind dates with books. They look so good, like cutesy fake boyfriends, sweet, spicy Hollywood romance. Just all of them sounded so up my alley. And they had the cutest tote bags. I'm actually so mad that I didn't get one because I actually just lost my own tote bag. And looking back at this footage, I love these bags so much. And the bookstore was so big, it went so far back, and it's a total of 3 stories. The Dead Romantics, I love the title of this book and the cover. It gives me major fall vibes. I also thought this book, the cover is so pretty, and they have this huge shelf of gorgeous books. I just want all of these for my bookshelf. The way these books make me want to have a dark academia inspired library. Oh, they had a whole table of books signed by the author, which I also think is really cool. And then they had like a trending book talk table section. I also thought the quote on the back of this book was really cool. If all printers were determined not to print anything till they were sure it would offend nobody, there would be very little printed. And it was a book on banned books. And they had a whole table about banned books, which I think is really cool. A lot of these books I had no idea they were banned, and they had little cards explaining why they were banned and where. And I just thought that was so interesting. More popular book talk books. This is my absolute favorite book by Colleen Hoover, Hopeless. I gave it 5 stars. The Thief is a fantasy book about the search for an ancient treasure, which sounded really cool. I haven't heard many people talk about this book, but I really liked Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Ninth House by Lee Bardot, major fall vibes, 100% want to read this book. Then I headed upstairs. Here is looking down at the first floor so you can see just how big it is. I also just love the aesthetic of this bookstore. I feel like it is so cozy and homey feeling. And they had a clearance section, which I always love when stores have clearance sections. Then I headed down to the basement floor. They just had random sections back here like business. And here's me walking from one end to the other just on one floor. Like, look how long it took me to get to the back wall. Here's me mouthing, this place is huge, just for emphasis. The Strand was so cool. I especially loved the color organized book wall. I have my own bookshelf color organized. I don't have nearly that many books, so mine does not look that good, but I was like, wow, this feels like inspiration for one day in the future when I just own hundreds of books and I can have a whole wall that looks like that. And I also got a blind date with a book from there. I feel like my whole personality is now just blind date to the book because I buy them so often. They're just kind of hard to find, so if I see one in a store, I'm like, I have to get it. And they're also so fun. I feel like I've read so many books at this point, and I've heard of so many books from Book Talk and BookTube. I really want to discover books that I know I'll be interested in from the description, but that will be something I've never heard of or will ever pick up, which is normally the case for blind dates with books. And this one says, College Frenemies Find Love at the Beach. I was really hesitant on whether I should get this one or another one because this is 1000% in my comfort zone. A college frenemies romance that takes place at the beach. Like, could there be anything more perfect for me? I'm kind of scared it may be a book I've already read because I feel like I've read a good amount of books in this vein, but hopefully it's not. If there's a chance that this is a book I haven't heard of that fits this description, that would make me so happy. Okay, I'm opening it. I saw the corner of the book and I know what it is. I should have known. It's Beach Read, which is kind of a bummer because I've already read this book. I'm honestly surprised they put it in the blind date with the book because normally I feel like they put lesser known books in these, so you won't get one that you've already read before, but this is one of my favorite books ever, and I'm actually planning to do a giveaway pretty soon when I hit either 75 or 100K on YouTube, so follow me on Instagram if you want to learn more about the giveaway when that comes around, but I will definitely add this book to my pile of books to give away. And if you aren't familiar with this book for some reason, this is about Gus and January. They're both authors and they went to college together. They were college rivals and they run into each other again at this beach town, and they make this pact that they're going to switch genres for the summer. So January writes romance novels, Gus writes fiction, so they're going to swap what each other is writing about. It's just a really cute romance that's perfect for summer. Okay, that is all of the bookstores that I went to in New York and all of the books that I bought in New York. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!